let's now bring in legal analyst Melusi Xulu to weigh in on this particular case. Melusi, thank you so much for your time. I want us to start, as I did with Kenny just moments ago, just for you to unpack, of course, what we are hearing in court today. Of course, the former minister's legal team now requesting they file representation in a bid to have the corruption charges dropped. You know, just talk to us about the grounds of this representation and what does it all mean?
Good afternoon to you, Nathan, to the viewers at home. Basically, when you're making representations, it means you are saying to the state, I've read the docket or the copies of the dockets, and based on that, I don't think you have a strong case against me. Meaning that I'm asking you to look at my representation and to withdraw the case before we even go to trial, because it will waste time only to find that there's no case against me. So that's what they're trying to do. My surprise today is the fact that previously it was the other accused who was bringing representation, but today both accused are bringing them. So it will depend on the state whether they accept the representation, and then they'll come back to court and say they are withdrawing the charges. But from my experience, here's what I've gathered is that when you're making representation, sometimes it's not that easy because you are saying to the state that they kind of don't know their job. So sometimes they might take it emotionally and say, no, there's no case, only to find that when you go to trial, in fact, what you were saying was true. So we will see how the states will assess that representation. And then if they are saying there's no case, that they are saying, then the matter will be postponed for trial.
And I mean, like you said, the NPA doesn't really have to agree to any of this representation. What then can we expect on the 24th of October when the case then does resume? I mean, as Kenny said earlier on, we nowhere near knowing when trial date will then be set.
Look, you know, whenever it's towards the end of the year, I always see that the cases are not really tried at the stage. It's just arrangement for next year. So I'm expecting the fact that there are outcomes that are expected based on the representation. The matter will come to court, and if they are saying there is no case, the matter will be then withdrawn. But if they say there is a case, they will be looking to next year to set the matter for trial dates, maybe for a month or so, depending on the witnesses that they have. So it's just two things I'm expecting. It's either there'll be a withdrawal or the matter will be postponed. But however, here's the interesting thing, Nati. The fact that the representation has been refused, you can still take it to a higher authority or a person who's of a higher authority. Say you can take it to a chief prosecutor in that area, or if the chief prosecutor does not agree, you take it to the National Director of Public Prosecutions.
And I would imagine that, you know, these steps before we even get to trial are very important, particularly from the NPA, who want to make sure that they've got their ducks in a row and afford as much as possible what the legal representatives want, because there's just so much at stake with this particular case, and because it is just one of those cases that are related to state capture. So what does it then weigh for the NPA with this particular case, given the fact that, I mean, we know that there's a 1,351-page docket that basically states the case of the state at this point in time, which they think is a very strong one, even though it's premature to talk about the strength at this time. But the lawyers are insisting that the state actually has a very weak case.
Yes, when it comes to state capture, we still at this stage have not heard of anyone who has been convicted of a matter that arises out of a state capture commission. So I'm sure the state would want to make sure that if they have a case, the matter proceeds and they are able to get a conviction. So I think that is what they will try to do. But for the sake of justice, if there's no case, I don't think they should proceed, and they should not fall under pressure to proceed when there's no case to begin with. So I am seeing that there is a pressure towards an NPA to make sure that they have, you know, a solid case And remember, we've had before, I'm sure you remember there's been reports that the NPA has not been well funded for such cases, and the division that they had before where the person was heading the state's capture cases even resigned. So there is a pressure on the NPA, but I think it's better for them to not put themselves under pressure. If there is a case, they must proceed. But if there's no case, then there's no case.
Absolutely. Melusi, thank you so much for your analysis. Let's leave it there for now. Legal analyst Melusi Xulu there for us, just weighing in on this particular case.